A good chunk of my peers' personalities is just alcohol. What is something that people turn into their entire identity?
Politics.
The last 5 or 6 years it has turned into a sport with a bunch of losers who pick a team, and will feverishly support that team under all circumstances. I think that a lot of people used to not care much for politics. Maybe you'd see a flag here and there, and maybe you'd have a political conversation once in a blue moon. Now, you see the flags everywhere, the political conversations on the daily, and people being aggressive with their political opinions when you are just trying to take a peaceful poop, like Mom Stop. Their sexuality. I have been called homophobic by my sister for saying that your sexuality should not define your identity. Ironically by my straight sister. Strange considering I am LGBT+ myself. I think there's too much of a push to label everything and everyone in general nowadays. I hold the view that the focus should be more on just being able to live your life. To be clear, more needs to be done societally and legally to ensure this, and recognize what unites us rather than what divides. This is a view I don't voice too often because it gets dangerously close to getting me lumped in with a lot of intolerable people. Owning a motorcycle. It's not just about owning. And it's never just one. It's a lifestyle. And sometimes a beard because that bit under my chin gets really cold. And tattoos make me tough. You know what, I'm taking it personally too. Their job and career. Talking about work is okay, but being unable to talk about anything else is what bothers me. I'm currently in college and it's the same thing. I'm struggling and you can't help it at all. Now can we please talk about what you did last weekend or literally anything else? Weed. I mean, I support legalization, but if your entire identity is weed then you're lame. Imagine someone whose entire reason to live is cigarettes, or beer. They're losers making a normal thing their entire identity. People have an appreciation for vintage wine. You don't see them walking around with grapes printed on their sweaters and plastic wine glasses in their bags. You don't see them try to imitate ancient Romans or Italians. Or trying to convince you that getting tipsy on a 1850 Chateau Leblanc de Voix de la Rue La Cruz will take your worries away. Somebody replied, "It isn't even an exaggeration." I cannot tell you how many times a total burnout pothead has tried to tell me that the reason I do not like weed is it sounds like you just have not smoked enough weed. I have been smoking weed my whole life. It was cool when I was young. I lived in Colorado when it was legalized. I saw the rise of the industry and kept trying it over and over. Nope, turns out I do not like it. I get it dude, you smoke pot. It does not mean that everyone else needs to. I always hear people say things like, "Bro, have you tried different strains? Try some indica with a high ratio of CBD. You'll love it." No, I wouldn't. I've tried a dozen different strains in various amounts with different methods of ingesting it, and they all make my heart feel like it's going to explode. I have a panic attack every single time, regardless of what it is, where I'm at, and who I'm with. It just isn't for me. I've met dudes who refuse to believe it and insist that there must be a combination that would work for me and that I just have to be determined to figure it out, as if my life is worse off for not being high every day. And then, to top it all off, they'll say, "I don't have an addiction. I can quit whenever I want." Weed isn't addictive. Some people live vicariously through others. I have seen this happen when people want to live through their kids and want them to do the things the parents want, but the kids really don't. Drinking and the drinking culture. I'm really surprised this wasn't higher. A good chunk of my peers' personalities is just alcohol. Sadly, this is such a common thing in Germany, and nobody cares about how unhealthy it is. Somebody replied, "It is very similar in the UK. I know a lot of people my own age, late 20s, and older who drink a lot every weekend and also during the week, and it becomes basically all they're interested in. If I want to talk about any of my other interests, nobody really seems to care." This kind of behavior is very normal in this country and many others, I'm sure. Being in the military. I am currently in the military and I hate people like this. I work in a VA hospital. It's almost guaranteed that the folks with a massive amount of Vietnam clothes, hats, stickers and such were the ones who weren't in active combat. Had one guy who never left the States during the war that never shut up about being a Vietnam veteran. The guys who went through that nightmare didn't want to think about it. Monster Energy Drink. I know a woman who is nearly 40 years old who walks around like a living monster billboard. She has every piece of merchandise under the sun, and keeps buying more. She's a cool person aside from that unfathomable obsession though. Somebody replied, I drink Monster pretty often, but I don't understand why people brand themselves with it. Like it's just a drink. I'm not going to start slapping orange juice labels on everything I own. Mental illness and disorders. It's a pretty touchy subject, but I've definitely met people who accept their disorder as part of their lives and work around it, and then I've met people who use their disorder as a shield for any conflict. And I think a lot of people dealing with mental health issues worry about coming off as only being their disorder, and some justifiably, since their friends, family and others fail to be considerate towards them. But like, see above. Are you doing something about your depression? Or are you using it as an excuse whenever your partner asks you to contribute? In my opinion, it's like diabetes. You have to be careful about your meals, exercise properly, and handle your medications responsibly. If you ask if there's a low-carb option at a party, or if you can bring one, that's generally reasonable. If you don't do this and throw a fit when it turns out no one accommodated you, that starts getting into ugly territory. Having a beard. This would be my entry as well. I have a beard because it actually looks good on me, which a childhood of unfortunate haircuts assures me is rare. But man, since growing mine, I have had the weirdest conversations with people who have made having some facial hair their entire personality and expect me to have done the same. Driving a Jeep or Tesla. Although to be fair, the truck and Dodge boat guys are just as bad. Americans, when they discover their great-great-granddad once looked at a ship headed to Ireland, will base their entire lives around being Irish. I hate this. A person whose family hasn't set foot in Italy in 3 generations, every time someone talks about food, well, I'm Italian so. Being a parent. Parenting essentially takes over your life from the time you become a parent. So I cannot say that being a parent is unimportant to your identity. It drives or influences pretty much every decision you make once you become a parent. Somebody replied, I worked with a woman who was fun and funny and generally a great laugh. She had a daughter and became weird. Like they put a double bed in the kids' room so she could sleep every night in there with her instead of with her partner. Every conversation somehow managed to lead back to her daughter. Even work ones. It became unbearable to be left in a room with her cause she'd start showing you the same baby pics over and over and over again. I get being proud. I'm currently pregnant and I'm excited. But this was a whole new level and it never died down. She was the same when the kid got to 5, etc. I have no idea about now as I stopped talking with her in the end, but I remember we all felt for her husband a lot. This is more of a woman thing. But getting married or being a bride. There is a woman named Bethany who is a Christian influencer. When she started, she and her sister were single. They pushed their messages toward young Christian women who were trying to get married, and how to live a single, godly life. It has been a few years since she got married and she still creates posts about her wedding and being a bride. From my experience, police officers tend to over-identify with their job. There are a few hands-on jobs that do. Oftentimes you can guess their entire personality pretty accurately in excruciating detail off of this one trait. Most cops that aren't assholes don't want people to know they're cops, because everyone already knows they are and will take every opportunity to talk about the last time they got pulled over or ask for a get-out-of-jail-free card, or how fast they can go on a road without getting in trouble. It stops being amusing really quick. Living in Berlin. Or pretending to be a New Yorker even though they just moved there. Living in London, Paris, New York, and other big cities in each country. Some people just live in a place for the status it gives them. People who are obsessed with sports and their college or country teams. I do not understand it. I know people who have painted their houses to match their sports teams, green and white for Michigan State, with MSU flags out front like. Seriously? I'm an American and do not understand people's obsession with Americana, and flags, and the pride around being born in that country as if it means anything. Apple and Android fanboys. Also, the opposite, Apple or Android hating. I'll admit I'm guilty about this. A few years ago, my sister made Stranger Things her whole identity. She only spoke in quotes and references to the show, and only dressed in the merch. This wouldn't be so bad, but she was 35 years old at the time. CrossFit. My best friend started going to CrossFit and I'm glad he's found something he loves, but my God is he a boring bastard now. I enjoy fitness, I am in shape, I enjoyed the gym. Him? He lives for it and nothing else. The worst part, he imprints on you to stop himself from eating. You'll have food and he'll make a thing of asking if you want some unhealthy dessert, then goes and gets a healthy dessert and makes it obvious that he's chosen the healthy option. Like, cool. But it's just to stop himself from eating bad things, he offers you them. He'll go and get his massage gun out to use while you're watching TV or in a group conversation. As if in a way to prove that he's doing exercise. Telling you how he's using PEDs. Posting a workout on the Instagram story every single morning. If you enjoy it, fine, but my word. It's become his personality. I hope you enjoyed the video. Try subscribing to the channel. Don't worry, you don't have to base your personality around it. Click on the recommended box to see some more of my content, and let me know in the comments if you think I missed something important.